I recently won an auction and got Elvis's coat. It's a beautiful coat worn by Elvis Presley. And I'm real proud to have it hanging in my shop. Very, very nice. But now to the business at hand. Here's the newest Cub from 1967, I think. And here's the plow blade. It's like a little tank. It's got a nice little plow on it. Had to fabricate a little rod here. It's attached to the plow. And Danny welded it. It was a wreck. I got this plow for like $60. It had to be rebuilt. I got chains on the tires. And when you sit on this thing, you can raise and lower the plow with this handle. It's about as, it only goes up that high. You can hardly see it. But I plowed with it last night, and it was a lot of fun to use it. I had never plowed before. I'm 52 years old, and I've never ever had an opportunity to run a machine with a plow blade on it. And so that was a lot of fun. I've cleaned up my shop. I've waxed the tables. I didn't polish them yet, but I got a thick coat of wax on everything because when you're in an unheated environment, the tables, they need to be waxed. And just so you can see, maybe you'll be able to see it right here. When you buff it, it really shines up good. Ah, there you can see where I buffed it. Barely, but a little bit. And I've got an electric buffer that I use too, and it gets nice and smooth. And that'll protect it when there's condensation. But I also have these woolen covers over all the cast iron tops in my shop so that when I'm not using them, I don't have to worry about them getting rusty, because they will rust. Here's the big planer and a bunch of other equipment, my joiner. But anyway, my newest project is a 16 horsepower Onan engine. And here we have the camshaft right here, which really shouldn't be in just a parts box because these cam lobes have to be protected. There's a lot of different hardware. Down on the bottom there's the oil pump. I suspect this oil pump probably went. There's the flywheel and screen. It's a pretty big flywheel. There's my hand compared to it. Heavy flywheel and ring gear. The teeth are all good. He's got all the bolts. I bought this engine for $150. There's the sump and the oil fill. The only thing I didn't see the actual dipstick, although it is in there. It's just missing, the cap. So there's a dipstick jammed inside there. You can see it. The stator and the coil, and plug wires, the old pistons and rings, the starter, the two heads because it's a twin cylinder engine, a little breather tube that goes from the oil breather to the carburetor. This is where the other side of the engine, where the other bearing goes. And I noticed that this bearing right here, if you notice, that should be smooth as can be. And you can see that it's got terrible scores. This is supposed to be nice and smooth, and it's rough, and it fits inside of here. This would be pressed down inside. Actually, it goes in pretty easily, and you can press that bearing right in. Well, obviously, this bearing either spun or it ran out of oil. Now, we've got the block right here, We got the intake manifold, intake and intake. The actual intake manifold's right here with the carburetor. It's a twin, so it would go on something like this. That's how it would fit. The air-fuel mixture goes inside this carburetor, and it's dispersed through the intake manifold down this way through the intake valve and down this way. It's a twin. And then, of course, the exhaust comes out of here. The only other problem is the tractor I'd want to put this on doesn't use threaded rod like this for the exhaust. It uses flanges, and the flanges in this block haven't been drilled out. The cylinders, those are the cylinders. There's really no evidence of scoring per se in those at all. It's actually, it's almost like a mirror finish. You can see reflections inside that cylinder. It almost looks like it's hollow, but that's a solid sleeve. See, it's a solid sleeve. But there's really no scoring. The valve seats look good. So right now, here's the other main bearing surface, and you can see that that's also been scored and damaged. Over here, we've got the shroud. This is the engine shroud. The flywheel rides in. And here you've got the specs on it. It's an Onan B43M. Serial number, oil capacity, even what kind of engine oil to run depending on the temperature. And here's another dead giveaway that something happened. There's 3 crankshafts, and these crankshafts I need to look at. I've got to hope that he ended up getting a crankshaft that isn't damaged. One of these crankszafts came out of this engine and is certainly damaged. Now, here's a book, Onan service manual for the B43M or the B43 or the B48M engine. That's what it looks like. And I've got 2 of them in my tractors. The B43 is a 16 horsepower. The B48M is an 18. Series B43M. Specs 3.25. Both cylinders are 3.25, which is 3 1/4 inches. That's the diameter bore of that cylinder. So if we were to measure this, if this was right on the money, this would be 3.250. In fact, here's the specs. Cylinder, bore, hone, diameter. Minimum, the smallest it can be is 3.249, and the biggest it can be is 1/1000th bigger of 3.250. Okay, so they also give you sizes in millimeters, but since I'm in America, and since I know the English system of measurement, and I don't have equipment to measure precisely in millimeters. If I did, I'd use that. But I've got so this can only be 1/1000th between the minimum and the maximum. And they have other information too. The crankshaft, so I can measure the crankshaft, the main bearing journal, the clearance, and somewhere I saw. Let's see here. Oh, the main bearing. Inside diameter without bearing is 2.187, and main bearing inside diameter with it installed needs to be 2.0015. So between 2.001 and 2.002. That's literally 1.5 thousandths of an inch bigger than 2. And that's what this is. This distance from right here to right here, if this was good, would need to be literally main bearing, inside diameter, installed. The minimum it could be is 2.0015, and the maximum it could, the maximum it could be is 2.004. Huh, that's interesting. So it can be as big as 2 4 thousandths Huh. Interesting. So anyway, but see, these are nice because they come off. So this whole bearing plate is still very much in good shape. I'm trying to get this back out of here. I pressed it in a little bit. It's coming, but it's tough. Okay, so when this is pressed inside this housing, and they even gave me the diameter of this housing from here to here. It says main bearing inside diameter without the bearing is a little over 2 1/8 inches. So the thickness of this material when you get here and here is a little over 1/8 of an inch. So, and that will ensure that this will press in hard. I would be surprised if this is damaged, but we'll see how it goes. So why am I showing you this? Well, because it's Wednesday night and I literally have nothing better to do. I want to stay active. I want to stay off the couch. I don't want to be on my phone listening to other people's problems and concerns. These are the two wheel horses. Many of you have seen these before, but that's what the B43M engine looks like. Maybe you recognize this little rubber part that I had in here. And that's what that engine looks like when it's together. Now these engines are red because they're wheel horse engines. Both of these have been rebuilt. I rebuilt these, so I already have experience with two engines. This one here still has something that's not great because it's using about a half a pint of oil every time I use it, which is excessive. I have an idea that it could be the valve guides. There's too much clearance in the valve guides. But I decided rather than taking this out, because this runs, it runs strong, a matter of fact. It's burning oil, something's wrong with it. But I'm going to rebuild this other engine and get some more experience. I'm really looking forward to it. I always say that. I had to clean up this shop. I also have these mower decks. They need to be rebuilt. The bearings get bad in them. You can see this one here. This one was in operation, but I'm sure that these could use some fresh bearings, and I've got enough bearings for all of these. Here's another mower deck over here, and these are all old Cub Cadet mower decks. They're cast iron. These are tough mower decks, not like the decks you get today. Today you get flimsy, thin sheet steel. This is literally cast iron. This is cast iron right here. That's hard. Okay, flimsy sheet steel. I don't know. This is what flimsy sheet steel looks like. Okay, that's flimsy sheet steel. So I'll say goodbye. Thanks for paying attention. It's nice when people pay attention to you for a little bit. And hopefully this will end up being a beautifully running engine by the time I'm done with it.